Hello and welcome back to our educational video series, How to Reproduce Your Artwork. Now in this video, I'm going to be discussing how to photograph your artwork with sufficient quality to make reproductions that look great. And this is the most important step because it will determine how good your results are later in the process, how faithful your reproduction is to your original. Now, getting this part right is critical. We want to get it as close as we can while also keeping it simple and easy to do over and over again. To start, I suggest you hang your artwork on a vertical wall instead of laying it on a table or on the floor. It will be a lot easier to set up your lights this way. It's also easier to set up the camera, especially if it's on a tripod. I also suggest that you use a white or neutral background if your wall isn't already painted that way. You can use a large piece of mat board or foam board that's easy to find at any art supply store. This will allow you to use adhesive hangers or tape without damaging your wall, depending on the type of artwork that you have. Now I'm photographing a watercolor, so I'm using small pieces of masking tape to hang and flatten the paper on the wall. If your artwork is framed behind glass, definitely try to remove the glass, as that will cause all sorts of problems with the lighting. Now let's move on to the lights. You'll definitely want a pair of lights, preferably with some diffusion, which makes the light softer and smoother. I recommend these great LED light panels that come with a softbox and a stand, and a pair of them is under $200. They are lightweight and easy to store, don't give off any heat, and have great color accuracy and brightness for the price, as you can see here. You can adjust the intensity and temperature of the lights and have them at full power with a daylight temperature setting. You want to place them at 45-degree angles to your work so that they produce a nice even spread of light across the artwork without any hot spots or shadows. One last bit of advice is to choose a room where you can control the ambient light with shades over your windows, for example. You want the ambient light to be as consistent as possible, which means every time you photograph your work, you'll get consistent results. If you can mount your camera on a tripod, that is really ideal, as it will minimize camera shake and also make it much easier to replicate your setup over and over again. It also makes photographing multiple pieces at the same time much easier. You don't need anything expensive, just something solid that is easy to adjust. Finally, you want the best DSLR that you can afford, and a mirrorless camera is a great option if you want a smaller, lighter package without compromising overall image quality. You want a minimum of 16 to 20 megapixels of resolution to give you enough detail for larger prints. Now I'm using a Canon R6 full-frame mirrorless camera with a Canon 24-105 zoom lens. This is a great kit that captures excellent color and tonal depth with a resolution of 20 megapixels. The zoom lens provides a lot of flexibility in framing your work without having to move your tripod, and the quality is exceptional, what you'd expect from Canon. Try to position the camera so it's as parallel to the artwork as possible, that is the front of the lens. This will eliminate distortion in the final image. As for camera settings, an aperture of f8 will give you the sharpest image, and you want to use the lowest ISO possible to avoid noise in your images. I'd suggest putting your camera into aperture priority mode, set the aperture to f8, and with similar lights to what I've suggested, you should get a nicely exposed image. Set your camera to capture the image in the RAW format, not JPEG. This will give you the highest quality file that you can adjust afterwards to optimize the color, the contrast, the temperature, giving you the most faithful reproduction of your artwork. As with everything else, practice goes a long way, and hopefully this will become easier and easier as you do it more often. Next comes the editing stage, where we apply color correction and prepare the file for printing.